a little bit deep dive about the subject of leadership. We're finding him a rare breed in the African political landscape, especially Nigeria, where he hails from. And we'll be talking a bit about that. That you said a few things about the concept of leadership, and you made some analogies. Why do you need 20 cars? Why would someone want to? You can only drive one at the same time. Are there unique stories? Are there backgrounds to what made you have that philosophy of leadership?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I think for me, it has to do with three major issues. Number one is the family background. The family that brought me up, is a family that are contented, family of people who definitely not rich, but not out there searching for wealth any other way, just trying to work hard. So my family background prepared me. The teachings also of my family based on guidance about the fear of God, of religion, also helped me a lot, in trying to go in that direction. And then finally, my education, so based on the kind of education I acquired along the way. I'm a Muslim, but I started my education from a Roman Catholic mission school. So based on that, I grew up purely in the aspect of religion and the fear of God, both from the school, as a Catholic school, and also at home, where I also learned more about Islam and things like that. So I think these three major elements helped me to put me together into who I am today when it comes to the area of leadership.
Wow. You touch on three things. Family upbringing is critical to the person you become.
Yes,
you mentioned education, and then you mentioned the fear of God. I'll take you on all three. Let's talk about the family, African culture. We are in the West today, but it's beginning to look like our cultures are not valid. It's fading. Can you speak to that? What is the place of culture in molding us to becoming the kind of leaders that the continent needs?
I think modernization, westernization have actually infiltrated the African culture and African tradition. I grew up in a very small village where the true spirit of every child that you see, every parent that is in that village is the parent of that child. So there is no much of this is the son of so and so person, therefore I don't care what happens to that child. If the child does good, the entire village actually was there to commend the child. And if the child did anything bad, punishment could come actually from any other uncle or auntie or things like that. So that's the kind of setup and I think it's a very good thing for our own culture, the discipline. The discipline is not a discipline of abuse. It's a discipline of trying as much as possible to follow up and ensure that whatever somebody is trying to do, he does the right thing. It's that kind of discipline. So that's the kind of background that we need. But as I said, technology today has changed things. Modernization has changed things. Technology has changed things. Western education has also changed a lot because all of us started, when I was growing in the village, I didn't know I was going to study in America. By going to America to study, it opened my head into other things altogether. And then I got to learn about some of the cultures there, and some of the westernization there, some of the things that you couldn't do to a child, you couldn't shout to a child, you couldn't beat a child, so all those kind of things. But it's not just for people like us. It has actually come down to some of the smallest villages that you can find, in Africa today. So infiltrated into the culture and makes it very difficult, to truly practice African culture. If somebody is even trying today to practice the African culture, he will be seen as somebody who is backward, somebody who is not exposed, somebody who is not educated, and things like that. So that's the way the African culture, especially when we look at some of the Western world that didn't believe in Africa. They show you some of the Tarzan movies. It's some of those things. So I think that's the way that I look at it. But I think Africa.
And I'm excited from what you said. You grew up within this context, yet you went to America, studied. It didn't change who you were, and it didn't make you less successful. In fact, today you're a role model for several. I think that's a lesson for young Africans everywhere. Now, you didn't just study abroad. You grew, and you grew through becoming a senior executive with the Dangote Group, from what we know, and today you're the executive governor of the state. If there was one thing that made you succeed today, what would you say that is?
Well, one is God. God had already destined for me to succeed. So that one is purely down the line. But I think discipline also helped me a lot. I already defined my own vision. I think from my primary school, I wanted to be an engineer, and I wanted to be a practical engineer. I didn't want to be an engineer who just graduated without knowing what and what and what. So my engineering didn't start from the university. I went to a technical school. I did welding, I did fabrication, and I did iron bending.
And you could do it yourself.
I can still weld.
Oh, wow.
In that video that you see, I still weld. I do my shielded metal and welding, or versatility welding, TIG welding, MIG welding. So I can do all these categories of welding. In fact, my thesis at the master's degree level, I wrote it, on the welding of aluminum using the shielded metal art process. So I didn't forget my background of technical education. So I had the right to choose any complicated topic, that I chose a practical topic that has to do. That's why I was today. I set up a vocational and technical institute. And some of the shops that we set up, fitter machines, welding, motor mechanics, electrical installation, carpentry and joinery, ICT. I had to do things that are practical. So that's the kind of background. So I think they have worked a lot, in trying to get me to where.
Awesome. Now again, you were in the private sector, and today we've seen 6 years. Almost 6 years, or more than 6 years in Nasarawa State. We see the transformation. What lessons did you bring from the private sector? What do you bring from private sector into politics?
One is the prudent management of resources. You see, the private sector completely different from the public sector. In the private sector, we always had a budget, and in our budget, profit is the bottom line. By the time you prepare the P&L, it must have a profit at the bottom line. I was just actually speaking with my boss, and then he was speaking with the chairman of African Leadership magazine, the former president.
Yeah.
That's what delayed the start of the event, because I was talking to him, and then I handed over to him, he spoke with him, and then we went into more discussions. So the idea, generally is that in the private sector, is profit bearing. The company you are running, organization you are running, belongs to shareholders, whether it's a family or it is the kind of capital market shareholders belong to the shareholders. They are looking for returns on investments. So profit making is important, that you have to do that. But when you come to look at the public sector, it's really about providing services. You are providing good services for healthcare, for education, roads, infrastructure, this and that. And I will tell you a very good one. As a first-time governor, when I came in, I had some second-time governors. Call them senior governors. So they had already done their, like I'm a senior governor now.
Yes.
I'm my second time. So the first-time governors that we had, that I was, so I came in and I was sitting down at our governor's meeting. And then I heard about so many governors that were now fumbling over each other, trying to go and take loans, facilities, foreign facilities. They were trying to take loans from Afro-Exim Bank, from Arab Bank, and from all these banks. And I asked, and I said, these facilities are going to be given in what currency? They said dollars. I I say Nasarawa is not interested. How can Nasarawa not be interested? Oh, they are giving you this. I say Nasarawa is not interested. I say why? I say because I can't go and take a loan in a very erratic economy like ours, and then I'm investing that loan in a non-profit, non-revenue generating project. When I build a road, nobody is going to pay me for that road. Today, if I go and build a stadium, nobody is paying for the stadium. Sometimes when our team is playing, we have to be begging people to come in there and support us. So nobody is paying for it to go in. So you are investing the money in very beautiful projects like the ones I have invested today. I built flyovers, I built underpass, I built that. They are not generating 1 naira for you. But the only thing is that they are generating the image for the state. So if I take a foreign facility, invest in that, I run into two problems. Number one, should there be any movement in the foreign exchange? Okay, you get a top hit. The time I'm talking to you, the exchange rate was 305 naira to $1. So, and I said no, I was not taking it. Few states, without naming any particular state, that thought they were smarter than us, took the loan. I didn't take it. So in fact, I will have done what I usually do in the private sector, to take the loan and take FX risk. I will take actually foreign exchange risk. Okay, but even if you have taken foreign exchange risk, with what we saw now, the dollar jumped from 305 to 600 to 700 to 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, and then so the dollar jumped 5 times. The insurance company will have declared force majeure. There is no way they will be able to do it. So for that reason, you lose the money. So the states that have taken that money now, because most of them were second-time governors, they have run away. They have left the new governors now with choking debts, and they invested those monies on projects that are non-revenue bearing projects, because the projects are not adding 1 naira to the states. So, and that's why the gentleman from Afro-Exim Bank was telling me that after I spoke, he just checked the debt profile of every state, and he realized that Nasarawa is one of the least states as far as debt is concerned, that we are owing almost nothing, because I didn't take that money. So that's what it is.
Wow, and that's truly amazing.
That's what the private sector experienced. The prudence of the management resources, that. So we are able to do that. It's not just in them, even in spending. I just finished building a flyover for 16 billion naira. I noticed that the same design, in fact, the same contractor, doing it for another state for about 22 billion naira. 6 billion naira more than what I spent for my own.
That speaks volume. And it's been argued that Africa's development really lies on private sector mobilization. Which with the experience you're talking about, you can manage resources more prudently and achieve same results, even better. And I'd say it's really commendable. And it means you're speaking truth. You were speaking as I was checking you out to see what you say, is it true? And I think that's something to note. But let me speak to Nigeria. Nigeria is one of arguably the most significant country in Africa in terms of population, in terms of several indices. Nigeria is a critical country on the continent, and you happen to be one of the few leaders driving the ship at the moment. What do you see for the future of Nigeria? And I'm saying this I see that you're passionate about leadership. What do you think is the way? How can Nigeria upgrade and compete in the Committee of Nations in a way that it brings up the goods?
I think it lies with our youth first. The elderly, people like us, I think we have actually misused our opportunities. That's just the truth. People would not like to hear that, but that is just the truth. we had all the opportunities. One is to ensure that the youth are not discouraged, because I have had people saying that they have stolen all the oil money, they have done that. No. Nigeria is so blessed that as you are getting out of one opportunity, you enter into another opportunity. That's how good Nigeria, that's how blessed Nigeria is. So forget about the oil, they have stolen the oil money, forget about they have stolen this, okay? Focus on the future, but don't think like the way those of our own age and those older than us were thinking. Think the new generation. Look at the way the world is going. Today, we have people who are 40 presidents of other countries. People who are 50 that are holding these top positions in other countries. So that's why I like that new law of Nigeria, not too young to run. So if our youth go in that direction without having this get-rich-quick scheme, that is one direction that I think we have. So the opportunities are marvelous. Today, as you all know, we are thinking of clean energy. When you are talking about clean energy, oil is no longer, the most important thing that you have to look at. So fossil oil is beginning to fade away. So we are now looking more and more into green. Now green, one, you look at agriculture. Nigeria is massive when it comes to agriculture, the potential. If you're looking at gas, Nigeria is actually a gas country, not even an oil country.
Yes, sir.
Nigeria is a gas country. For us in the US then, we were saying that Nigeria is a gas country that has oil, not an oil country. That's the way we used to
So
describe
that
it.
speaks to tremendous opportunities.
There is over 220 trillion standard cubic feet of gas in Nigeria. It's only 40 billion barrels.
Wow. Wow. This is big.
Okay. So now I'm telling you the knowledge of it. So for that reason, Nigeria is indeed a gas country. So clean energy related to gas, you are there, you can generate your power. Okay, you can do your fertilizer, you can do this. So all of it, Nigeria has in abundance, and more gas fields are being discovered. Okay, so that is on that side. Nigeria is also blessed when it comes to minerals. There is no state in Nigeria that you go that has no one kind of minerals or the other.
In commercial quantity.
Not each one, not every one of them is in commercial, because commercial quantity is a very vague term. It's like the definition of leadership. When you say, I love the idea when he asked all those panelists to define leadership. You see, every one of them define leadership differently. Yeah. Every one of them. So it's the same thing when you say commercial quantity. And a good example I will give you is in the area of the same oil and gas that I understand. In Bolivia, a lot of the oil and gas companies from the US in the 80s and the 90s, they went there looking for oil. When they couldn't find the oil, they found gas. They said the gas was not in commercial quantity. They started capping all the gas fields and abandoned Bolivia and left. Now, they started looking for gas in Brazil when industrialization picked up in Brazil. That's when Enron from Houston came out and started opening the gas fields and constructed a gas pipeline from Santa Cruz in Bolivia all the way to the producing areas, Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, Santos in Brazil. After they finished that, then Shell started constructing a parallel line. And so Bolivia now became a rich country.
Wow.
Because they are now using the gas. So it's the same thing actually with same commercial quantity. When you talk about commercial quantity, somebody will tell you that, okay, 100 million barrels of oil or tonnage of this is commercial quantity. Another will say, no, we are satisfied with 20 million. Oh, we are satisfied with 1 million. Yeah.
So in that context, in every state.
Everything could be commercial quantity, and every state has something.
Wow.
You can say, all right, I will do lithium in Nasarawa State. I will do tantalite in Plateau. I will do barite or limestone in Benue or Kogi. I will do lead in another place. I will do zinc in another place. I will do tin in another place. So Nigeria is just placed everywhere. I will do gold in Zamfara. I will do Kasana or this, So those are the kinds of things that I do. And including the southern, including Lagos. As small as Lagos is 3,000 square kilometers. That's the size of Lagos. 3,000. Nasarawa is 27,000. Yeah. So as small as Lagos is, there are places in Lagos where there are minerals.
Nigeria is indeed blessed. And leadership is what will unlock the opportunities. Yeah. And in Nasarawa State, beyond mining, which we know is one of your competitive advantage, you talk to agriculture. Would you say what's the model? How do you involve youth, women significantly beyond peasant farming into commercial agriculture?
Okay, now there are two different things. When you say how do you go them into commercial agriculture? Commercial agriculture is capital intensive. Okay, so you need money, you need equipment, you need the knowledge.
Yes.
Okay, because people sometimes go into it when they just have money without the knowledge. So they all must go together. If they don't go together, then you have a problem. So in a nutshell, what is happening is that we continue to support the small-scale farmers to remain small-scale that they are. We invite the commercial farmers to come and employ on the small scale and those interested in agriculture. Olam has its biggest rice plantation in Nasarawa State. Flour mills has 20,000 hectares in Nasarawa State. Sabo Africa has 20,000 hectares in Nasarawa State to be doing cassava. Angote has 68,000 hectares, as I mentioned earlier during the presentation, to be doing sugarcane. Yours truly, Nasarawa State Government, has 10,000 hectares.
You own everything.
Has 10,000 hectares to be doing rice.
Wow.
So we have.
So it's a blend of making sure that peasant farmers have a pathway to market, while also promoting the large scale.
Fantastic question. Now, Olam has 10,000 hectares of land. I just told you that they have their biggest plantation without telling you the size of the land. They have 10,000 hectares of land to be doing rice. But they are cultivating only about 4,000 hectares right now. Now the catch is that they have 120,000 metric tons capacity mill, and they just double it now. The 4,000 hectares cannot give them even 40% of what they need. So now they rely heavily on these small farmers to be giving them all their paddy, including the Nasarawa State Government. When we finish our paddy, we sold it to Olam.
So they become off-takers already?
They become off-takers.
Wow.
Yeah, so they become off-takers. They are the ones who are buying everything from us because they have a huge mill. And I keep telling my colleagues there is no need to be inventing the wheel. I don't want to go and build another factory, even if it is 50,000 metric tons per annum. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have the rice, then the mill is useless. And then we have another mill that is being underutilized. So there is no need to do that. It's better for us to keep this. So this is all because of my mentality of private sector. If I wanted just to do it for show, I would say, yeah, that's our state also will build our mill. And then we have a big commission of the mill or this and that. But then the mill works how many years?
And there are several projects like that where there was farm fair and then they become redundant.
They work for 1 year, maybe the year we have the best harvest, and then let's say, God forbid, we have another governor who is not interested in farming. We'll come and say, Governor Sule wasted our money, he spent about $50 million and build a factory. In fact, we are still owing for that factory that is not done, and then problem will come, and then they start calling you to the EFCC and all. So these are the kinds of things that
part of the message. As we begin to round up now, can we speak to today? You're here to, beyond giving the speech and inviting investors, you were picked as one of the few governors to be celebrated for your performance, and I must say congratulations to you.
Thank you, sir.
What does this African Leadership Award mean to you and to Nasarawa State?
Well, we appreciate it, and it means so much to us. That's the reason why, in fact, I came at a time, that we are also doing something very special, which I didn't mention there. The Public Relations Institute, I don't know if you've seen it in the news, globally, is building a very fancy university in the world. And they selected Nigeria. They are going to build it in Nigeria. When it comes to Nigeria, there has been a lot of competition between about 4 states. Every one of those 4 states, three states, more richer than Nasarawa State.
Oh, wow.